Monday's Talking Reds, Gareth Roberts, Ian Ryan with me again. We're both on today's free podcast today, so we kind of feel like, should we have a big chat about Liverpool v Spurs when we're going to go downstairs in a minute to the studio and do a podcast about it? Well, we will, but what I'm saying is you should listen to the free podcast as well, because we'll go more in depth, other people will be involved, Akko will be there, and you make a good fist of proceedings like he always does. So give that a listen today, and let us know what you think. Okay, the match then. Cracking match, I think is probably the first thing to say. If you can sort of take yourself away from it as a Liverpool fan for a moment, which is really hard to do, obviously. But it was a cracking game, two cracking teams, obviously. Obviously ultimately frustrating because Salah scores an absolute worldie of a goal. The cop goes mad, everyone falls over seats, breaks seats, all kinds, bruises everywhere, limbs everywhere. It's something like the 93rd minute when he does that, and you think, well, that's that, it's done, it's over, we've won, what a result. And then, they get the second penalty of the match. The man with too much spit in his mouth, Harry Kane, puts it away. And we're talking about a, dropped points, 2-2 draw. It's frustrating, isn't it? I mean, I guess a draw was actually quite fair if you want to be, you want to look at it in those terms. But fair isn't how it works, is it?
Not asked about fair.
We're not asked about fair at all.
I wanted 3 points. You summed it up well there. I thought the game was an incredible football match. It was bonkers. It had everything. Penalty save, 2 penalties, 2 unbelievable goals, both very, very different. The Wanyama strike's just 1 in a million, isn't it? He could do that again. God knows how many times, and he'd never find the top corner. The Salah goal. What can you say about Mohamed Salah? Honest to God, you run out of things to say because you think you've seen the best of him, and then he goes and does something that can only be described as Messi-esque. The way.
That's what everyone's saying.
Everyone's saying that, and rightly so, because when he picks up that ball there and he reacts to it really well, when he tries to claim on ball, doesn't he? But he reacts to it really well. To then comprehend that's going to end up in a goal from where he is with all those Spurs defenders around him. Unbelievable, brilliant it was. And you're right, you think the Reds have done enough. We've kind of maybe not deserved the 3 points, because I think the first half I thought we were really good and we could easily have been going in 2, maybe 3 up. I think some poor decision making, that final ball let us down a little bit, and it wasn't just kind of one particular person. There was multiple people there who probably could have played a better final ball, or there was times where decision making wasn't quite right. But then second half, credit where it's due, I thought Spurs were much the better side, and we became
ran out of steam.
We did run out of steam, and it became a little bit easy for them. So in that first half, we were closing off all the space, not giving their danger lads room to manoeuvre. That changed in the second half, and they got more and more into that match, and we struggled to live with them. And I would have took, when they equalise, I'm happy with 1-1, to be honest with you. Just get out of there and let's take a point. But then it's to go 2-1 up with such little time left. Hugely frustrating. Yeah,
it really was. Let's talk about Mo Salah, because that's a nice thing to talk about, isn't it? 28 goals in 33 appearances now, which is absolutely outstanding. He's the quickest Red in the Premier League now to 20 goals. He's done it in 25 games, which is 2 fewer than Sturridge and Torres. And I guess we've got to start talking about him, if we're not already, as a top quality, high calibre Liverpool superstar now. It's reaching that stage, isn't it? He's up there with Torres, with Suarez. Ben Johnson put something in his ratings which someone took exception to, but Ben just basically said, he's one of the best players we've had at Liverpool in 20 years. And then, someone was raging about it. It's like, why are you raging about that? He's saying he's a boss player.
It's a good thing, surely.
It's a good thing.
Liverpool want to have boss footballers at the club. We've got a boss footballer. And the key is obviously keeping hold of him, and you do that by being successful and getting in the top 4 on a regular basis. It's just, from his point of view, I think in any other season, people would be saying Mohamed Salah, best player in the league by an absolute mile. I think Jamie Carragher referenced it on Sky yesterday. I caught some of the Sky stuff after the match last night, and obviously Kevin De Bruyne over at City's having a really, really good season, and he continues to get plaudits, and rightly so, and maybe he kind of wins the Player of the Year. But in any other year, Salah would easily have taken that kind of title, because he's been nothing short of fantastic, and to do what he's done, to score that many goals in those games. So he's got, 21 and about 25 now, hasn't he? Which is just ridiculous numbers. I mean, when you think about the fellas he's beat in terms of achieving that goal, in terms of hitting those numbers, you mentioned a few there, unbelievable footballers. And I think when Salah came in, we were hopeful that he was going to be a great addition to this football club. But he's been more than that. He's absolutely exceeded expectation. And you look forward to watching him play every single week.
I mean, you could get odds. Someone's put it up there today. You could get odds in May of 100 to 1 for him to score 20 in the Premier League this season. Pity we haven't got a DeLorean, and we could go back and lash a bit of money on that one, but we can't do that. In terms of the other thing that everyone's talking about, obviously, is these decisions and the way they were given. There's lots of talk about, the chat between the referee and the linesman was picked up by the cameras. It's been wrote out and it's shared all over the internet right now. I mean, in terms of them, where do you start? The first one, I think, is what's frustrating about it for me is the fact that, the conversation that we hear. He goes over to the linesman, Moss. He has the conversation, and the linesman saying if it's come off Lovren, then he's not offside. Okay, but then he says, I don't know whether it did. He's asking whether the fella in Martin's seen it on the telly.
Have you seen it?
Martin
I'm giving a penalty.
Yeah, and then
it's unreal.
And then I'm giving a penalty. And look, I guess lots of decisions in football are best guesses, but to hear it in black and white, to hear him basically admit that he doesn't really know, but he's just giving it anyway. Well, lads, you know what I mean? Any chance? If you're not sure, why are you giving it? And
surely, when you give a penalty, you're always told, unless you're absolutely sure, you don't give a penalty.
Yeah.
You can't give a best guess on a situation like that. And okay, they missed the pen, so it didn't matter in the end. But to have a guy like that refereeing at this standard, and it's not the first time he's made mistakes. I think he's well regarded as being one of the poorer referees, and again, he kind of lived up to his reputation there. He was shocking. He was shocking throughout, and even if you look at the two decisions, and we'll come on to the second one in a bit, I'm sure, I just thought his overall performance, he was just giving free kicks when he shouldn't.
There was no consistency.
And to be fair to both teams, Robbo, there was times when he wasn't giving us stuff.
Shank got booked, didn't he, for what was a bad challenge. But I can't remember who it was, but someone did Trent earlier on with something similar and didn't get a card. And it was like, well, those two incidents should be treated in the same way, surely, and they weren't. And as you say, looked like he was struggling. The second one as well, he's right by it from what I can remember, from what I saw. And he's waved it away and gone, it's not a penalty. And then he's running away. It seems a really late flag from the other fella. And he turns around, sees the flag, and then decides to give it. And it's like, and then we see the linesman when you get home and you're looking on the internet. The linesman giving it a bit of a fist bump. Like, what's all that? Why is he celebrating the fact that he's giving? I mean, it doesn't look great, mate. You might not be a Spurs fan, like some people are a legend and all that sort of stuff. But it just, why are you fist bumping a decision, mate? I mean, I remember this happening years ago at Anfield.
Had 2-2.
Well, I remember there was one where I think Murphy scores a goal, and you're seeing the referee. This is obviously going back quite a while. You're seeing the referee go like this. It's like, what's he doing? And when he got asked about it, the story's still there if people want to look it up. He got asked about it, and he just said, I was just celebrating the fact that I allowed the game to flow. I gave advantage, and then he scored, and it was like, all right, mate.
Praising myself. I mean, you never really see linesmen, assistant referees, call them what you want. How often do they get involved, really? I mean, you always see them kind of, I don't know, they never want to be in the limelight normally. You've got to almost kind of do something out the ordinary to get an assistant referee involved in the game. They don't want to be part of the match. But this guy seemed to, it wanted to be all about him, and he was obviously onto the referee straight away. But for the referee to have had the view he had, and it looks like a good view, you can see the play, he waves it on. Right, for him then to say, or to let the linesman almost persuade him otherwise, it just felt very, very bizarre and very, very unusual. And obviously, it's cost us 2 points.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, we're going to get into this in great detail on today's free Anfield app podcast. So do give that a listen, all the usual places. If you've never listened to a podcast before, it's that easy to get involved. There's apps on the Apple phone. There's apps that you can download on Android phones. You can go to our website. You can go to the TuneIn app. You can listen on Spotify. You can listen on YouTube. YouTube as well. It gets uploaded later on in the week. So lots of ways to listen. Give it a go. Should be a good show today. Plenty to get our teeth into. Loads of stuff that we haven't mentioned there, but you know, don't want to do a video that lasts 2 hours. So we're going to be back in a minute, and we're going to look at the day's newspapers. In the newspapers today then, Liverpool are the headline in most of them, if I'm being honest. I quite liked what the Mirror's done. Kane is a diver, that is Van Dijk basically saying that Kane dived, but I like the subdeck, sick Van Dijk. See what they've done there. So quite enjoyed that bit of sub-editing. But we've talked about the Reds, and as I say, we're not going to do the Reds in the second half as well. We'll do City, a little mention for City. Not only first off did the manager only name 6 subs, which was a bit mad. I mean, as all the pundits, Gary Neville, I think Gerrard said something similar on BT Sport as well, said, like, you just throw a youth team player on the bench, don't you? And he would have been absolutely delighted to be involved. It seems maybe a little bit political that he did that, which also seems a bit rich given the amount of money he spent and tried to spend. You know, he did try and get Mahrez in as well. So yeah, I don't really get all that. But also as well, on top of that, City have been having, or City players have been having a little bit of a moan as well. They did draw with Burnley in hilarious fashion. If you haven't seen Raheem Sterling's miss, you really must watch it. If you don't enjoy that, there's something wrong with you. You know, you're not enjoying life, are you? But yeah, the headline here: City hit by burnout. I mean, you see what they've done, Burnley. There's sub-editing tips there. But yeah, so this piece in the Mirror is detailing quotes from Kevin De Bruyne, who basically is having a little bit of a moan. He says he feels like shit. Basically, City have played 22 matches in the 77 days since the last international break as they chase the quadruple. And De Bruyne admits they are feeling it. He says, this break will do us a lot of good. I'm going away, it doesn't matter where. I've said before, you feel great for 10 games, then you feel okay for 10 games, and then the rest, you feel like shit. But we've got to do what we've got to do. We've only got 15 or 16 players available at the moment, so we need to get through it. I'm not sure I've got a lot of sympathy for Manchester City, and not only that as well. The game he's making the quotes after Burnley. I think I read that they've done the least rotation out of anyone. So if anyone's only got 15 to 16 to choose from, it's Sean Dyche, not Pep Guardiola. Yeah,
it's a bit rich, isn't it? I think you're absolutely right. No one's going to have sympathy with City given the spend, even since Pep's come in. It's ridiculous, but I think at times as well, though, Pep can be, his own worst enemy because he's clearly chasing the quadruple. You get that, you understand. Of course, you want to win. You want to win 4 trophies, but he hasn't rotated that much himself either. When you compare it to Liverpool's rotation, now some may say Klopp's maybe rotated a little bit too much at times. But Pep tends to play De Bruyne all the time. He certainly plays him in every single league game. David Silva, similar until his recent issues, family problems. So he does tend to play a lot of his big hitters over and over again. So I think there's definitely something in it in terms of they've looked a bit leggy, City, certainly away from home. Now, they've got such a lead in the league that it's probably not going to matter. No. I think where his concern might be is maybe Champions League. Is there a knock-on effect there? But obviously he's gone and done another bit of business in January, hasn't he, and bought Laporta for 60 million quid. So when you're able to go and do stuff like that, and he threw loads of money at Leicester, unsettled the player, 65 million quid just because they had Sane out for 6 weeks. So mad. It's hard to have sympathy, Robbo. It is. It really is. So shut up, Pep, and start naming 7 people on the bench, you weirdo. I mean, the thing is, look, I get today why some people are a little bit down about the way the match went. That is what it's about. It's the way the match went. It's being denied that huge moment of celebration of a great late goal from Salah and all that. It deserves to win the match as well. And so it does bring you down that you only draw. But so what I do in these times of trouble where you're feeling a little bit down. I wonder where this is going. This is when you look across the park at the Blues and you just go, it could be worse, we could be them. I mean, absolutely tonked on Saturday by Arsenal, absolutely owned, all over the show at the back. And then the manager comes out afterwards and basically says, we tried to copy Swansea and it didn't work.
Swansea crap, Sam. And then he actually used that word. He said, and we were crap. He labelled Everton crap. You're the manager, mate. You're setting them up. You're putting them out there. You're picking the team. If they're crap, it's your fault, mate. It's your fault. But also, there's a truly wonderful stat in the Echo today. There you see it. 1 win in 44, a truly woeful record. So to explain that one, basically, Everton have won 1 away game against the Premier League's current top 6 since February 2011. That's 44 games, won 1, drawn 14, lost 29. Now, if I was home and away Everton, I think I might have jibbed it. You know what I mean?
You can see why lads got off at half time, can't you?
Yeah. There was a video doing the rounds, wasn't there? A load of them filing out of the stadium.
Oh, I retweeted that, like. Yeah, I was all over that.
Was it 4-0 at half time?
Yeah, it was a 4-0.
4-0.
Yeah, it was 4-0. Yeah,
4-0 at half
it was
time.
4-0. Yeah.
So yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, there is nothing wrong about laughing at your rivals. No. I'm sure someone will pull us up on this. They normally do.
But
why are you talking about Everton? Because we're in the same city.
Yeah.
We're in the same city and it's funny. That's why.
Absolutely. And they do it to us as well. So absolutely no issue.
Yeah, they were all made up.
Absolutely no issue with it. But I think in terms of Allardyce there, he hung them out a little bit, didn't he? And you can see why it was a horrific performance. But as a manager, you probably only get to do that once a season, maybe twice. So what happens if they go and get beat in the next game as well, and it's a similar type of performance? You know, what does he do then? So it'll be interesting to see how Everton respond, but I think more and more as the weeks go by now, they're not having Mardy. There was that little bit of bounce when he came in, he gets the odd result, they obviously get the draw in a derby and they all go mental, but now, you know, they're obviously seeing the same football week in, week out. He's brought players in, doesn't look like it's worked in some cases.
He's already dropped the striker, hasn't he?
The striker they bring in, obviously, I mean, huge money as well.
27 million
and obviously he finds himself out the team. I think Walcott will actually do all right for him in all fairness. Okay. He's coming and he's had a decent start, but there's definitely trouble there. And I'll be honest, I'll be amazed if he gets next season as well.
Yeah, I mean he signed an 18-month deal, so that was always sort of, you know, the signs were there straight away. But £6 million a year, £6 million. Imagine how much gravy you can buy with that. I had to mention the gravy, didn't I? The other one, just to have a little laugh at you know, one of our rivals again. Manchester United are obviously above us in the league, so we can't laugh too hard. And you know, the draw does mean they've opened up a little bit of a gap, which is a shame. Although we have obviously maintained our advantage over Tottenham, so there's that. But anyway, what is funny though is that Mourinho's now joined, you know, Alex Ferguson and others that have criticised the atmosphere at Old Trafford. Something that, you know, we always enjoy stuff like this, don't we? Because we like to say Anfield's got a good atmosphere. We like to call them plazzies and say that they can't fill the ground or they can't create an atmosphere, whatever. He raised it after the game against Huddersfield. They won 2-0. He said, in here, the atmosphere is a bit quiet. And he drew a contrast with the absolutely incredible atmosphere at Portsmouth. But anyway, the Manchester United supporters trust have been on.
Right.
They weren't
happy, are they?
Nah, they weren't happy. They weren't happy with Jose there. They put a statement out. We note our manager's further comments regarding the poor atmosphere within Old Trafford following the Huddersfield home game. The decline in atmosphere is by no means limited to Old Trafford. It's an issue affecting clubs throughout the country, and it's certainly not an issue specific to Manchester United supporters. Our away support is widely acknowledged by fair-minded fans as the best in the country. We believe that the atmosphere is primarily dependent on the perceived relationship between fans and club, including the degree of supporter ownership and engagement. In the absence of any imminent changes in the former, we therefore concentrate on other areas where we can have an impact in the short to medium term. To that end, last week we met with directors, both board and venue, to explore what can be done, and we will be reporting on that meeting in the coming days.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, the statement's quite mad, isn't it?
It is. I mean, Mourinho's probably, well, he has got a point, because anyone who's been there will know that it's
can be incredibly quiet.
Yeah, it can be.
75,000 in there, and you can hear a pin drop.
Yeah, and I think, you know, even United's kind of, you know, staunchest fans would kind of reference that and say, yeah, there's been issues, and I think the problem is why, you know, we've been to games at Anfield where it's unbelievably quiet, and it needs to be better. Klopp references a lot, doesn't he, in his press conferences? But I think there's a way of doing it and a way of going about it. And the way Mourinho's gone about it there, it's not going to sit well with fans.
That's what he seems to do with it. He seems to alienate people all the time, doesn't he? Like falls out with players, falls out with the board. Now he's like throwing digs at the fans, and it's like
he has this little period of time where he comes in, everything's great, and then it just starts to unravel, doesn't it? Normally season 2 or season 3, he starts to annoy people and they get a bit fed up with him. And I'm not saying that's happening with the majority of United fans, because he's obviously put a few trophies in the cabinet, and that's not a bad start. But if he doesn't this year, and then maybe 1 or 2 more start to get a little bit annoyed, because he'll just keep coming out with stuff like that. And he's done it with players as well. You've often seen him throw certainly young players under the bus. When actually, Luke Shaw is the one that stands out, and he's not the only one. And there's been times where there's been senior pros, doing similar things, but he's not done it to them. He's picked on younger players, and there's only so many times you can do that before people do get fed up with you. So.
And he's kicking around in a hotel dismantling trouser presses as well. Well, maybe not, but I just wanted to get a Partridge reference in there. That has been Talking Reds. As I say, free show out there today. Also, all the usual stuff. So there will be a review where Neil gets in depth about the Spurs and Liverpool game with Sean Rodgers, who is a qualified coach. They look more at the sort of tactics, they look at what Liverpool maybe could have done differently, the substitutions, they get real in depth and have a look at it. And it's one of the most popular shows, it's worth a listen, and it's just one of the many shows that if you subscribe to Talk Player, £5 a month, you get to listen to that among many others. Also as well, if you're thinking about giving it a go and you're not sure or whatever, sign up, have a go. It's a £5. You can listen to all our old stuff as well, including loads of great interviews and stuff with loads of Liverpool managers, including Klopp. And if you don't like it, just cancel it, or you've lost a £5. I mean, it's a pint in a posh bar, isn't it? So give it a go, get involved, back us, up the Reds, and we'll be back tomorrow with another Talking Reds, and hopeful of a special guest tomorrow.